Good evening, everyone. First, I want to acknowledge some guests I have in the audience. Pastor of Piney Grove Baptist Church, Derek Hughes. Pastor of Bethel AME Church, Eddie Moise. And then my pastor, Pastor Henry Green of Mount Hermon AME Church. Thank you very much. Thanks for being here. I also want to thank civil rights activist Sean King, Emmy Award-winning producer Ava DuVernay, and New York attorney and public defender Rebecca Kavanaugh, who supported me through their social media channels. Also want to thank my wife, my family, my friends, and those of you in the audience who are here today. So as you know, I made a statement a few weeks ago, 2 weeks ago at the last commission meeting that surprisingly was heard and seen throughout the world. And I understand that my statements at the last commission meeting did cause some controversy. It is clear from the calls, emails, text messages that it struck a chord locally and nationally. It touched on a topic that runs in the undercurrent, something that people refuse to talk about. Because I spoke out and shared what had happened to me, I received messages of hate, threats. My family's safety has been compromised. And that's the last thing that I wanted to do, was put the safety of my wife and my child in jeopardy. But that is what happened. In the midst of all the media attention and the frenzy, my 5-year-old son turned to me and asked if I, in fact, had been arrested. I felt horrible and almost did not want to answer the question because I was embarrassed. With all the facts of what happened to me running through my mind, all I could muster as I looked at his little face was yes, but I was not supposed to be. This hurt my heart and brought me back to the day when I was wrongfully arrested. On that day in July of 2015, I felt violated by the criminal justice system that is supposed to protect me. I felt like I was singled out for videotaping, something I was legally entitled to do. It was a traumatizing experience that I've played out in my head many times. The handcuffs, the police car, the paddy wagon, the jail cell, and getting bonded out. It is something that will never leave me. In the aftermath of my comments, I realized that I am not alone. I received countless emails, text messages, voicemail messages, phone calls from others about how they were also wrongfully arrested and or mistreated. When I walk into events, go to church, or even the grocery store, people in the community have approached me to share their stories of how they have suffered in silence. They have shared their long-term emotional and professional effects of their wrongful arrest. Some have even suffered financially because they were terminated from their employment or incurred a financial burden as they attempted to clear their names. Like the parent in District 3 of an autistic elementary school student who was handcuffed because she had a tantrum. The young couple from District 4 who gets pulled over routinely with guns drawn but never received a ticket for anything. Or the young lady that was arrested in my district in front of her kids after she called for help. As I have done many times thinking about this incident, I wonder what would have happened if I did not have a video. I wondered what happens to other people who don't have video. From my discussions, it is clear what happens. They suffer the consequences of that injustice, and they suffer silently. I know it's hard for individuals who have never had this experience to understand the trauma, the emotional experience, the distress, the humiliation. I have to explain a mugshot for the rest of my life, as if I am a criminal, and I'm not a criminal. I'm a father, a husband, a son, a brother, a friend, a mentor, a city commissioner, and so many other things. followed procedure, went to the state attorney, I filed a formal complaint, I spoke to internal affairs, I spoke to the county sheriff at the time, I looked into filing a lawsuit, I'm not rich, and I spoke to the current county sheriff about it as well when we had the DeLuca roll issue in Tamarack. So I tried to address the situation through the proper channels. After all, nothing was done to rectify the situation. I tried to move on, but no one wants to hear these stories. It is easier to focus on decorum and protocol. It is easier to call this a distraction. It is easier to try to shun and silence me. But the truth of the matter is that even if I were to resign and go away, this issue would still bubble under the surface. The issue affects people all over the nation, of all political affiliations, racial backgrounds. I heard from people who specifically identify themselves as Democrat, Republican, white, Black, Latino. And I have a stack of emails of letters of support that I will submit for the official record. I also have another stack of hate mail, but that's fine. But more importantly, I heard from residents. It affects residents right here in Tamarack. I've even heard from city employees on this issue. So the truth is, police misconduct affects our neighbors, our coworkers, our friends, and our family. For those who suggest that this is a distraction and we need to get back to the business of the city, please know that this is, in fact, the business of the city. Because people living right here in Tamarack, all over Tamarack, have been affected. When I ran for office, my pledge to public service was to represent the interests of my constituents. Not some, but all of my constituents. I always try my best to speak up for what's right, even when it's tough. When it comes to our police and how they treat residents and visitors of our city, I'd like to see some changes because every resident in Tamarack should feel safe and protected. Like I said in my statement, my comments addressed a negative experience, but I've had very positive experiences with law enforcement as well. I have good relationships with several police officers in multiple cities around the county. But anytime one police officer is challenged or something negative is said about one police officer, there are certain groups that want to take it as a smear of the entire law enforcement apparatus. That is not my goal. This is not an indictment of law enforcement in general. I made sure to mention in my official statement that 2 officers at the scene before the deputy arrived said nothing to me and had no problems with me, had no issues. At the last commission meeting, I congratulated all of the other officers present during the ceremony. I know from hearing personal stories that we have hardworking, dedicated, brave police officers that uphold their oath of office daily. I have no problem celebrating and recognizing that, and I have done so right here from the dais. Just a few months ago, there was a family that had an issue with another family member in my community, and they were kicked out, and a bunch of BSO officers pooled their money together and helped that family go out of town to be with another family. And the BSO officers did not want to be recognized for that help. But I felt it was important to recognize those officers publicly because I know and understand police officers have a bad reputation and they need to do a better job of promoting the good deeds that they do that go unnoticed. So please give an applause to the BSO officers that helped in that situation. But it does no good to us currently or in the future, or for future generations, which does include my son, to act as if the system is perfect. I would hope and pray that justice is not some hollow word that we throw around, but something that we all, civilians and law enforcement, strive for. We can improve police and community relations while increasing police accountability, as there are programs and best practices that have worked to bring law enforcement and community together with common goals. It is not a secret that there is an issue, pointed out by a young student a few minutes ago. Numerous town halls and discussions have been held around the county, and one is being held in another city this very month. As an elected official, my job and goal are to make sure things are better for my constituents who are my neighbors. My job is to bring about positive change through action. At some point, you have to stand up and speak up for those who cannot or will not speak for themselves. And I don't want any of my residents suffering in silence. Therefore, I will be bringing together a group of people to figure out how we can address the concerns that have been shared with me over the last 2 weeks. I've had police officers from various cities offer to be a part of the solution. Individuals who have had negative experiences and wish to see the system improve and want to participate. Policy experts have offered their support and help. Church leaders and other community leaders have pledged to get involved. My plan is not only to have discussions, but put together an agenda that all of these groups can get behind so that we can achieve true, lasting change for the better. Although for some this may be an uncomfortable or awkward moment, I believe that working through these difficult moments will make us stronger and better. The City of Tamarack has been presented with a tremendous opportunity to show the nation and the world how to get it right. We must do it, and I believe that we can do it, and I hope that we can all do it together. Thank you.